Right. Hello, how you doing? Come. All right.
Hi, Sam.
I'm PPC with epidemic.
Okay, good.
The vice player.
That's a little slippery in it. Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for coming today. You know, I forgot to wear the right mask for today. I should have worn my good trouble mask that they gave us to honor the legacy of John Lewis, who always urged us to speak up and say something when we saw an injustice. And he always said that it's always good to get in trouble as long as it was good trouble. So I hope that you're having trouble hearing because of the traffic. Well, I don't know that we can do much about that. What about the cameras? You all catching it okay? You probably can get a little closer. I don't think you'll be in the shot. So today, I'm back at the Mill Processing Center. You all may recall that we were here after Imelda when the roof caved in here. And back then, we know that it caused a lot of issues with mail delivery and the processing of the mail, because this is the largest mail processing center in the country. And because it's the largest, it also handles a lot of mail. So anything that's done that hurts the post office or hurts the workers, hurts this processing center and ultimately the mail that's being delivered. So I stand here shoulder to shoulder with postal workers, letter carriers, and labor leaders in Houston and all across America. We're here because we totally reject President Trump's blatant, ongoing assault on the U.S. Postal Service. Americans here in Houston and across the country rely on the United States Postal Service every day for life-saving prescription drugs, Social Security payments, food and toiletry deliveries, and other critical services. Yet President Trump continues to attack our country's Postal Service for personal gain to cheat in the November elections. In doing this, he is hurting the families in my district who have lost their jobs due to COVID-19 and depend on the post office to deliver their unemployment checks. He is hurting our seniors who rely on the post office to get their Social Security check or their SNAP benefits. He is hurting veterans who get their prescription drugs or VA benefits through the mail. He is hurting families who now must shop online and through the mail because, again, of COVID and the fear of getting the virus. Trump's needless attacks are especially harmful to Houstonians, since we are home of this processing center that also has hundreds and hundreds of postal employees working here. Unfortunately, my office has already begun to hear stories about delays in Social Security checks, about delays in medicines, and some people who are just still waiting for mail. I can tell you personally that my payment for my lease to my condo in Washington took almost 2 weeks to get to the landlord, that she actually texted me and said, "Sylvia, are you all right? I'm worried about you." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, you never miss a payment. You're never late, but we haven't gotten your check." And I said, "No, I send it over a week ago. It took 2 weeks when ordinarily it takes less than a week. Because no, it doesn't go to Washington. The landlord is actually from Texas. So my constituents are concerned, just as I am, about delays in mail and what it will do to everyday Americans. And my constituents are scared and already beginning to ask questions about what will happen with mail ballots in November, or what will happen if things just go too late and their vote will not be counted. That is why we must all be pushing back against Trump's vicious attacks. And I can tell you that on this one, 90% of Americans approve and want the post office. You all know that nowadays it's hard to get people to agree on anything. But when it comes to the post office, 90% of Americans support the post office. They want to make sure that it's there when they need it, and they want to make sure that it's funded to the level that we can maintain operations and the level that we need to get through the next election. So President Trump's attempts to stop all this funding is not going to work, because it's plain wrong and it's un-American. And denying funds that the Congress, through the House, is recommending to go to our essential workers, the postal workers, and to the post office to continue their work, to stopping those funds and suggesting that he will not vote for any of the relief package unless we take that out, is also un-American, and in fact, it's immoral. President Trump's national assault must end. And while we are heartened by the fact that Mr. DeJoy has said that moving forward there will be no change in operations and that they'll be prepared to approve some overtime, the real question is, will those words really mean action? Or are they just going to be words on a piece of paper that go nowhere? And that may be moving forward. But what happens to all the damage that's already been done? Will they put all those blue boxes back where they were? Will they put back the machines that they've already pulled out? Will they continue to give the workers the overtime that they need to get the job done? Those are all questions that should be asked, because quite frankly, if that doesn't happen, then they are just words, empty words on a piece of paper. I can tell you that this is not a partisan issue. It is really about common sense, and it's about the American way. The United States has a postal service. We've had it for years and years. We've got to make sure that we protect it. We've got to make sure that it's fully funded, and we got to make sure that it's there for Americans when it's needed. Next, I'd like to call Al Davison from the American Postal Workers Union, Local 185, to make a few remarks. Al?
Thank you, Congresswoman Garcia. Again, I'm Al Davison. I'm the president for American Postal Workers Union, Houston. And I'm here to substantiate everything that our Congresswoman had just said to you. Behind us is a facility. If the cameras can show it. It's one of the largest mail processing facilities in the United States. It's about approximately 1,300,000 square feet. It's a very large facility inside of it, in our Houston area. When I walked inside of that facility, I don't want to see machines leaving the facility. I want machines to go in the facility. I saw about 15 machines not in operation. Of course, this is because of the agenda from our new PMG, Postmaster General. This is not acceptable. It's not. Postal workers hold their ownership in what they do. What are you going to say to your customer when they don't get their medication? What are you going to say to your customer when their check is not there on the Thursday? What are you supposed to say? Our Postmaster General has failed the general public because of his agenda that he had in place before he was even hired with the Postal Service. The Postal Service received no tax dollars, none, not 1 cent. The Postal Service is the people's post office. The Postal Service belongs to you. It is the people's post office. The Postal Service needs $25 billion. That's just in COVID relief. We're not asking for loans. This is COVID. You have so many people that have been affected by COVID. Some of them died. May their soul rest in peace. But this agenda to delay the mail is not acceptable. And I think it's for all of us to communicate with our congressional leaders, such as Congresswoman Garcia here. And if you don't know who your congressman is in your district, she will let you know, or you can even call the American Postal Workers Union. We all in this fight together. Save the Postal Service. It's your post office.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Al. And now we also have 3 members from the National Association of Letter Carriers, Ricky DuBois, Pat Clyburn, and Sean Boyd. Sean, will you come up and say a few words?
The National Association of Letter Carriers thanks the American people for their long-term support and appreciation of our service that our members provide to homes and businesses throughout the country. Letter carriers value their relationship with the public and take great pride in serving their customers. During this pandemic, the Postal Service has been the most trusted and relied upon service in the entire country. Letter carriers have been in every community every day delivering medicine, checks, notes from loved ones, keeping our democracy safe, private, secure connections with the rest of the world. And as they risk their health each day along with other frontline essential workers, especially postal workers, letter carriers have become angry, frustrated, and embarrassed by various USPS management initiatives that are now resulting in delayed mail and undelivered routes in many areas of the country, including locally. We encourage Congress, what we're doing ourselves, and we're proud of Congresswoman Garcia doing this, asking questions and trying to understand the delays and when the delays will end. The Postal Service is critical infrastructure to the United States, so much so that it was written into the Constitution. Sufficient financial assistance must be provided to the Postal Service immediately to ensure safe, secure, and timely service in this country, so people know they can rely upon the post office like they always have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Next, we'll have Linda Morales from the Texas Gulf Coast Area Labor Federation. Linda?
Thank you very much. I'm Linda Morales, representing the Gulf Coast Area Labor Federation of the AFL-CIO. We are 60,000 union member strong, advocating for working families in 13 Houston area counties. The unions that compose our federation represent workers in the public sector, manufacturing, building and construction trades, transportation of people and goods, hospitality, and other service industries like the United States Postal Service. I want to thank Congresswoman Garcia for calling attention to the plight of the Postal Service and its workers. If you haven't noticed, it's the Postal Service workers that are keeping our country moving, the U.S. economy working for us during this time of crisis, getting prescriptions delivered to people sheltering in place, making e-commerce possible, keeping families connected. It's the emergency distribution center when our country's in a crisis. But at this time of unprecedented time, that work is under threat, as folks have said. The Postal Service could run out of money, and the Trump administration is trying to leverage the crises to sacrifice our public service, Postal Service at the altar of private profit. The loss of the United States Postal Service would shatter our response to the coronavirus pandemic, hit already weakened businesses and ravaged communities. What we're asking is for the government, the Senate, to pass the HEROES Act as it was submitted by the House, including the $25 billion for the U.S. Postal Service, and roll back any changes that were implemented. Many of the workers that work at the Postal Service are Black, brown, veterans, female, and the loss of this diverse workforce would devastate thousands of families and send many to the unemployment lines, to the food distribution lines, and possible homelessness. Yes, we've heard that many of these workers, they're at a loss as to why the Trump administration has targeted them, because the Postal Service has provided prompt, reliable, efficient services to patrons in all areas. We know it's a political grab by the president that comes at the expense of everyday working people. We are here to stand with our Postal Service workers and all union members that are caught up in these hard times. And if you will bear with me a little bit, I want to say a little brief statement in Spanish. Buenas tardes, soy Linda Morales, representante de la Federación Laboral del área del Golfo de Costo, AFL-CIO. Gracias a la congresista García por llamar la atención sobre la difícil situación de nuestros trabajadores del servicio postal. Los trabajadores del servicio postal están manteniendo a nuestro país en movimiento y la economía de los Estados Unidos, trabajando para nosotros durante este tiempo de crisis, entregando recetas a las personas que están en su lugar, haciendo posible el comercio electrónico y manteniendo a las familias conectadas. Es el sistema de distribución de emergencia cuando nuestro país está en crisis. ¿Qué queremos? Queremos que pasen la ley Héroes presentada por la Cámara, incluyendo el dinero para el servicio postal y revertir los cambios que se han implementado. Estamos aquí para defender a los trabajadores del servicio postal y todos los miembros del sindicato. Gracias.
Gracias, Linda. Next up is Steve Flores, who is president of the Communication Workers of America, Local 6222.
Thank you, Sylvia. Let me tell you, I keep on hearing the president say that we should be returning back to normal in order to save America and the Americans in it. But I continue to see foolish behavior from this president and the people that support him. So I'm going to have to call him a fool, because this fool is acting foolish when he thinks we can return back to normal when he decides to do some unnormal things. What would be returning to normal would be allowing the postal workers to operate normally. So when he tells us that they don't need equipment and they don't need money for overtime and other things, which slows down the mail and slows down the process, this is foolish behavior. How can we return to normal if he continues to act this way? So please, please, everyone out there, especially those that have lost people due to the virus, and even those that have recovered, they're still suffering from their heart, their lungs, and all that. Just because they recovered, they still have those disabilities that could happen to them in the future because of the virus. I want to return back to normal, but we can't do it as long as the president continues to act foolish and do these kind of things to work, good working people. We need the mail system to work normally. Can't do that without him interfering. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. And next up, we have Sam Tijerina, who's the director of the Texas Union of Veterans Council, and he will talk about the impact that this kind of cuts will have on veterans in Houston and around the country.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Hi, my name is Sam Tijerina. I represent the Texas Union's Veterans Council, and we are part of a coalition of working veterans, and we represent 1.2 million veterans across the nation. And before I get into my facts, I just want to speak to my veterans and my workers out there. If you're not part of a union, join one. If you can't join one, form one. And if you can't form one, then call us, unionveterans.com. Veterans have a long history of relying on vote by mail. This brazen attack is an affront to American values veterans have fought to defend. At the same time, attacking the United States Postal Service has far-reaching consequences, not just for voting, but for veterans' employment and health. The United States Postal Service is a critical service for our nation's veterans, and kneecapping them clearly threatens military families. They're one of the largest employers of veterans at almost 100,000, with more than half of those having a disability rating. The VA relies on mail-in prescriptions to supply veterans with the medication they need. The new Postal Service policies set forth by the PMG DeJoy have already caused massive delays of up to 20 days in some instances. In 2016, the VA processed 120 million outpatient prescription via mail order, and approximately 80% of all outpatient prescriptions to veterans via mail. According to the VA, they supply 330,000 prescriptions daily, medications daily to veterans. If the Postal Service cannot ensure on-time delivery, hundreds of thousands of veterans will not have their prescription medications when they need it. Many veterans taking prescription medications are at greater risk from COVID-19 due to pre-existing conditions such as Agent Orange and burn pit exposure. So switching to in-person pickup is just not possible, especially for rural veterans. Veterans are proud to work at the post office. It's something they look forward to when they get out of the service. Their federal time continues to roll over, and they get to fulfill that need to provide a service that this country needs. We need to make sure that they have the resources in order to succeed so that they can continue the great work that they're doing. Thank you.
I'm sorry?
I do not.
Okay, next up we have Demetra Wallace, who is a property manager at Pilgrim Place, and this is a facility for seniors, and she will speak directly to some of the issues that she's already seen that seniors are facing with some of the slow mail and the delayed mail that already is currently going. Demetrius?
I'd like to thank Congresswoman Ms. Garcia for allowing me this opportunity. I don't have a script. I just want to tell you my daily observance. I work daily with the seniors. I am the managing director for 3 different low-income housing facilities. And I can tell you that the U.S. Postal Service is a vital service that will adversely affect their daily needs. I have a certain percentage of my residents who receive medications through the mail. There's just a lot of important mail that they receive daily. In addition to that, they are not able, some of them are transportationally challenged. Some of them are just in fear of the COVID-19 virus and they want to shelter in place. So I don't think that it's wise for them to have to, for this to be imposed on them to go out when the service that they have is working for them. So I see the feeble, I see the frail, I see the need that is being provided through the United States Postal Service with the things that they are able to do for them. And I don't think that there's an American out there that has not at one time relied on a piece of important mail. So this is a vital service. It is essential to my residents as far as their daily needs, and I am just, I feel it incumbent upon me to advocate for them when they can't speak for themselves. So, I really, it's not necessarily a Democratic issue. It's not necessarily a Republican issue. It is a human issue to address the needs of our seniors who have so diligently given the best part of their lives to help build this country to what it is today.
Okay, now also from Pilgrim Praises, Coco Martinez, who is a resident servant coordinator at one of the centers, so she will say a few words in Spanish.
Buenas tardes, gracias por la invitación. Estamos aquí para provenir de la, yo trabajo con los ancianos, yo los miro todos los días. Ellos vienen a mí cuando necesitan ayuda, ya sea para que les lean las cartas que les llegan. También es muy, para tener este correo es muy importante para los ancianos. Ahorita no salen de sus apartamentos porque tienen miedo de contraer el COVID-19. Es importante que siga el correo como está ahorita y porque los ancianos lo necesitan. Los ancianos, ellos ahorita ya dieron su mejor parte de su vida y ellos son los que ahorita necesitan este servicio. También ellos dependen de que llegue su medicina a tiempo, que llegue su carta de los ingresos de Social Security. Ellos dependen de este programa. Aquí estoy yo para ser una... Para apoyar a los ancianos. Y es todo lo que tengo. Gracias. Yo estoy viendo de que está yendo ahorita muy despacio, especialmente las cartas de ingreso que reciben del Social Security. Ahorita están llegando, siempre se tardan 7 días y ahora se están tardando más, porque ahorita ya está muy despacio todo. Sí. Mi nombre es Coco Martínez y yo soy la residente de los ancianos.
Bueno, pues ya sabes que los cheques son muy importantes porque ya los esperan cada mes y ya todos saben cuál fecha llegan. Así es que todos sus biles y todo lo que hacen es alrededor de esa fecha, ¿no? Pero si llega tarde, entonces se ponen atrás. Así es que es un problema para todos los, no para los seniors, pero para todos que son dependientes en los servicios postales. Por eso es muy urgente que no hagan que no hagan los cortes que quieren hacer con los fondos. Así es que es un problema muy grande, no nomás para los seniors, pero también los veteranos. Porque el programa de medicinas para los veteranos es todo por correo. No tienen mucha opción porque así es el sistema. Y también lo que pasa con los veteranos que también esperan sus cheques, porque no todos tienen cuenta en un banco, no tienen cuentas de banco. Ellos prefieren recibir su cheque. Okay, now we'll be able to take any questions that anybody might have. I apologize for the noise, and just for the record, the management across the street at the processing center late today did agree to meet with me. Initially they said they wouldn't, but now they've I guess since DeVoy made his announcement, they're willing to visit with me. So when I leave here, I will walk across the street and talk to management because we have had a number of complaints to our office. We had a veteran from Pasadena who was concerned because he still had not gotten his medicines. We've had a senior, I think it was from Pilgrim Praise, which is why we talked to Coco, who had issues with her check. So we've already had a lot of complaints, and this is something that's weighing very, very heavily, especially to veterans and seniors. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me a little bit about after this announcement, what are you hoping to, can you hear me?
Yeah.
What are asking of DeJoy and of the USPS in order to help
Well,
make sure?
I want to make sure he keeps his word, that he actually does what he says on the piece of paper, because otherwise it's just another piece of paper with empty words. If he's saying that he will no longer interrupt operations up to the election, well, that's great, but what about what he did before today? Because we heard from Al, they've already seen machines that have been pulled out here. I'm told that you can see the wires where they used to be. So it's great that you're saying, moving forward, I'm not going to do it, but hey, wait a minute, what about all the damage that you've done? My niece went to a blue drop-off spot in Sugar Land this last weekend, and she faced a huge line because she had to go into the post office because they had already removed the blue box. Will they go back now and put all those blue boxes back? So all of these are serious questions that still have to be asked. Is he really going to keep his word? And if he does, is he going to go back and undo the damage that he did? Todo eso de español. Bueno, porque mira, ya sabe que hoy anunció el DeJoy, que es el, what is he, the head commissioner? What is his official title? The head postmaster, the Postmaster General in Washington. It was hired by the president. Ahora sí anunció que moviendo adelante, que ya no van a interruptar ninguno de las operaciones de los servicios postal, que todo va a seguir adelante, que sí van a aprobar el overtime para los trabajadores, y que no van a hacer, no van a quitar ninguna máquina de contando los correos de los que ya no van a quitar las máquinas que it's sort. I don't know how to say sort in Spanish. Huh? They're sorting machines. They're not going to pull any of those out. Que ya no van a sacar máquinas que les ayuden a los trabajadores, y que ya no van a quitar las cajas de correo azules. Que eso ya no va a pasar. La cosa es esto. Ya hicieron daño porque ya sacaron máquinas que les ayudan a los trabajadores. Ya quitaron las cajas azules donde pones el correo. Ya han hecho daño quitándole el overtime, el trabajo a los trabajadores. Así es que yo quiero saber si van a venir para atrás todo eso, porque es bueno que ya dice que adelante ya no van a hacer esto, pero ¿qué pasó todo el daño que hicieron atrás? No, bueno, pues yo regreso para Washington el viernes porque vamos a votar el sábado por un propósito para que ya no pueden hacer más daños a los servicios postales. I will be going to Washington Friday night. We will have votes on Saturday on a bill that will prohibit any more changes in operations to the United States Post Office. It will prohibit them from stopping overtime for employees when needed, and it would stop them from removing any more machines from the distribution centers or any more blue boxes where everyday Americans go to drop off their mail. So the bill is already in draft, and it'll be debated next week, tomorrow or Thursday, and then we'll be voting on it on Saturday. And if we get done, I'll come home Saturday. If not, I'll be there Sunday. Bueno, entonces ya regreso para Washington el viernes porque vamos a votar en un propósito para parar todo esto, el daño que está haciendo Donald Trump a los servicios postales. El propósito va a poder que pongan todas las máquinas que han quitado para atrás y que también ya no pueden negar el overtime a los trabajadores, y también que ya no pueden hacer más daño. Así es que es un propósito muy importante, pues no más para que sigan todos los servicios para los veteranos y los seniors, pero también para asegurar que podemos tener elecciones para asegurar que podemos tener las elecciones sin ningún daño, ¿no? Porque hay mucha gente que vota por correo y va a haber más gente que va a votar por correo porque todavía tenemos el problema con el COVID. What I added was that the bill also will, of course, do what we can to protect the integrity of the election process. Because of COVID, more and more people will be voting by mail. And obviously, we want to make sure that the integrity of the election process is protected.
And you mentioned that you are now visiting with the USPS people at the distribution
Right.
center. Can you tell me a little bit about what you hope to learn from that interaction and from what the meeting will be?
Well, I hope that he does show me around so that I can see if I want to see the wires where there was machines and now they've been yanked. I'm going to directly ask him what machines have been removed, what blue boxes around here have been removed, and how that has impacted the processing. Because remember, this is where they sort through it and then farm it out. So if there's a delay here, then there's a delay at every station in the neighborhoods, which means if there's a delay to the delivery to the mailboxes. So it all starts here. This is the nerve center. Remember, it's the largest one in the country, over 1 million square feet. And I can tell you that when Imelda came through and that roof collapsed and there was a disruption in service, there was disruption for 2 or 3 weeks in some mail, and some just not delivered because they had to prioritize mail to deliver. Obviously, first class versus magazines and all that kind of stuff. But they had to get Austin and other areas to assist. So it's a big deal. I will also be asking him, and I know that you saw the article, what happened that it would take a gentleman in Humboldt almost 2 weeks to get his medicines. And because again, it all started here. I thought I had the article with me, I don't. But it's an important question because if it happened to the gentleman in Humboldt, it could happen to anybody in any neighborhood. And that kind of delay with the kind of medicines that many of our seniors take, that could be life or death. Life or death. So I want to ask him that question. And I'm going to ask him, when are they going to start putting things back together now that they're promising that moving forward they're not going to make any cuts? It's sort of like the old rhyme, right? Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Well, I want to know when they're all going to come back together and put them together again.
And last question from me. Do you know what is your understanding of how extensive the changes have been in this distribution center? I know.
No, I don't. El, do you know?
Expense?
The extent of the removal in the distribution center.
How much it would cost?
How much is?
What kind of effect it's had on slowing down the mail?
Oh, he's a lot.
Specifically, like how you mentioned there were about 15. You thought there were about 15 machines, but what's the extent of the delays and the shortages from the movement of machinery?
Well, you're hearing it. The public is speaking out. The people are speaking out. They're not receiving their medication. Like I said, it checks or what have you. And not only that, when we have the machines that's not in operation, the machines that's there, they have one person on it. So this is deep. They know what they're doing. And that's a safety violation, and it's a violation of our collective bargaining agreement. You can't have one person on a machine. What if something happened to you down there, But that's what they're doing. So it's starting from the top, from the Postmaster General. That's his agenda. To all postal PNDCs, not just this one. Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, it's everywhere. And it's being effective, it's working, and people is speaking out. That's why we're here.
How many, each machine replaces how many people? Is it 60?
Each machine is
Yeah.
2. Well, we demanding 3. We've been working with OSHA.
Yeah, but if people have to do that work, how many people would it take?
From 15 to 30 people.
15 to 30?
Two people on each machine.
Okay.
Yeah, about 30.
Yeah, about 30 people they would need, so. And I think that's a very critical point in terms of the overtime and the staffing issues, because when they started, they said it was due to it was cost-saving measures. But in fact, they did that, but then didn't bring in the employees to do the work that the machines would be able to do. So it's not helping any, because you're just going to have to try to get enough people to do that work. So I don't even know how they figured that one out. But it takes some people to be able to do the work that the machines do, because it's a lot of sorting of a lot of pieces of mail. Okay, we've got time for one more, because I know they're waiting for me.
If it wasn't an election year and we weren't in the circumstances of voting by mail, do you think the president would even be elected?
No, I'm glad you asked the question, because I think the president fails to understand that the American people know better. The U.S. Post Office is almost like motherhood and apple pie. We all know the post office. We all depend on it. It's the American way. And if this were not an election year, and if this president was not behind, and if this president would not be a cheater, this would not be happening. And if this doesn't work, who knows what he's going to try next week. He's probably going to try to, debunk every single printing company that prints mail ballots. He'll try to figure out another way. This president tried to cheat in the election, beginning through the impeachment trial, when he started to cheat by asking Russia for help and getting help from Russia. Now he's caught cheating again. So thank you all very much. In español? I don't even know how to say cheater in Spanish. How do you say cheater in Spanish?
Sorry?
Cheater. How do you say cheater?
Chidero.
How do you say cheater in Spanish? You want me to do it in Spanish? I'm not going to call the president.
Tramposo.
Tramposo?
Claudia, cheater?
¿Cómo? ¿Tramposo?
Tramposo, cheater.
No, I call the president cheater. He doesn't do it in Spanish. Tramposo. No, la cosa es que este presidente es muy tramposo. Primero quería la ayuda para ganar de Rusia. No pudo hacer eso, ¿no? Porque ya tuvimos el juicio presidencial. Ahora está atacando los servicios postales para que la persona no ponga su voto por correo. Así es que no sé qué más puede hacer. Gracias.